Good evening. Hope everybody is doing well. Wow, I noticed today in the news there seemed to be quite a bit as far as escalations with the situation involving Ukraine, Russia, and when I say that, it's not really just Ukraine and Russia. It's essentially Ukraine, Russia, Europe, NATO, so it's not just a matter of what's going on between Ukraine and Russia itself. But also, there have been a lot of moves, it looks like, underway for, I guess we'll call it the Indo-Pacific. I guess we won't. They call it that. And anyway, there seems to be significant moves towards armament. I mean, we're talking South Korea, Australia, it's kind of very telling. So I've got some headlines brought up. I figured we'd make it a simple night. I've got I don't know, about 7 or 8 tabs open, and I figured we'd just run through those. I don't have any convoy updates other than to tell you they're staying at Las Cruces, New Mexico, and the lead trucks has just pulled in. I don't know, I guess they got separated a little bit because the other trucks hadn't started pulling in yet, neither had all the cars and the RVs and campers and all that. So I guess they got separated a little bit, and there was like 4 trucks or so that was ahead of the others. So I'm sure everybody's starting to pile in there now, but other than that, as far as I know, it was just a bunch of driving for him today. As far as I know, there was nothing more than that. Can't think anything else. Let me go ahead and bring you over on the web view. And it's not all about tensions. It's also a little bit about food, which is, yeah. Man, I'm telling you. This really does not look good. I'm speaking on all kinds of fronts. As you see, the headline says Ukraine not only factor in higher UK food prices, says a report. And I understand this is UK, but believe me, this is coming here. And it's titled Chronic Labor Shortages in the Food and Farming Sectors Could Lead to Even Higher Food Prices, a group of British MPs warned in a report published on Wednesday, urging the government to learn its lessons from what they called the failed immigration policies introduced last year and to take immediate action. The Environment, Food and Rural Affairs Committee report, penned by a joint group of Tory and Labour MPs, claims that as of August 2021, the industry had potentially in excess of 500,000 job vacancies out of 4.1 million roles in the sector, arguing that the shortage had been caused by Brexit and accentuated by the COVID-19 pandemic. The report found clear evidence that the worker shortages were having a severe effect on the food and farming industry, threatening food security, the welfare of animals, and the mental health of those working in the sector, adding that businesses have been badly hit by these issues and that the pig sector was being particularly affected, as some 35,000 pigs had been recently culled from due to lack of workers. We found that labor shortages across the sector were causing crops to go unharvested and left to rot in fields, healthy pigs to be culled, and disruption to the food supply chain's just-in-time delivery model, the report states. And if I'm not mistaken, we experienced that here as well. So the MPs warned that the UK's food sector, its largest manufacturing sector, could face permanent shrinkage unless labor shortages are addressed, arguing that if action is not taken immediately, the industry could see wage rises, price increases, reduced competitiveness, and food production being exported abroad as the country becomes more reliant on imports. So, kind of interesting. I just figured I'd read the start of that. I think food scarcity is going to be an issue, and I don't think it's going to be just there. Um, I mean, there's a lot of individuals that are talking about it, and I think right now it's kind of like they're just easing it almost into the conversation. They're not really putting out any well, I don't want to say panic or anything like that, but I don't think they're being even remotely honest or on the level about the seriousness of the situation. So we'll see. So I was talking about there was also a lot of moves, if you will, when it comes to the Indo-Pacific. And so I've got several tabs open on that. U.S. offers view on chances of China attacking Taiwan. Says here the fighting in Ukraine have made the window for a possible Chinese attack on Taiwan highly unpredictable. The commander of the U.S. Navy's Pacific Fleet, Admiral Samuel Paparo, has warned. During a roundtable with journalists from the Indo-Pacific countries in Washington on Monday, Paparo was asked if he thought that the conflict in Ukraine and the draconian international sanctions slapped on Russia over it somehow affected Beijing's plans to bring Taiwan back under its control. China is undoubtedly watching what's happened in Ukraine, taking notes and learning from it, and they'll improve their capabilities based on what they learn at this time, he replied. But because of all of this, the window of a potential unification by force between mainland China and Taiwan is highly unpredictable, Paparo pointed out. The admiral basically downplayed last year's assessment by then Indo-Pacific Command head Philip Davidson, who claimed that a Chinese attack on the self-governed island could happen in the next 6 years. The prediction by Davidson was actually based on open-source speeches made by Chinese leadership, Paparo insisted. But now is not the time to take a breath or relax or relent on our own commitment to a free and open Indo-Pacific, he said. Many complex factors would go into play if Beijing decided to use force against Taiwan, so it was important to keep constant vigilance, the admiral added. So, anyway, and it goes in talking about the history and stuff, but I figured I would read that, and then there are several, like I say, there are different moves being made. Western military alliance to work on hypersonic weapons. Now, this is Australia, UK, and the US. They're going to expand their cooperation under the AUKUS Trilateral Pact to also include hypersonic technologies, the British government said in a statement on Tuesday. Now, you remember, this was just supposed to be about subs, right? About nuclear-powered, not armed, but nuclear-powered subs. Huh. Amazing how once they kind of get that foot in the door, they just fling it wide open. Says China was quick, whatever, to condemn the announcement, with Beijing's UN envoy Zhang Jun warning that it could lead the other parts of the world into a crisis like the one currently underway in Ukraine. Referring to the Western rejection of Russia's military operation, Zhang had some advice for the U.S. and his allies, quoting an old Chinese saying, "If you do not like it, do not impose it against the others." The leaders of Australia, the UK, and the US have assessed the progress made under the AUKUS deal so far, saying that they were pleased with it, the UK government said. It didn't reveal any specific details, only stressing that Britain and America were fully committed to establishing a robust approach to sharing naval propulsion technology with Australia that strengthens the global non-proliferation regime. So, and it says here, but it turns out that the partnership won't be limited to submarines only, as AUKUS members committed today to commence new trilateral cooperation on hypersonics and counter-hypersonics, and to deepen cooperation on defense innovation, according to the statement. So, And it does say a little more here. This will add to the already existing bilateral hypersonic program between the U.S. and Australia called Southern Cross Integrated Flight Research Experiment. So, interesting stuffs. And in here, as it says, Australia makes major move on missiles. Australia has kick-started a program to modernize its air and sea power with new missiles with a $2.6 billion investment. The push for rearmament comes amid worries over the situation in Ukraine and fears of growing Chinese influence in the South Pacific. When you see what's happening in the Ukraine, you see what potential there is for conflict in the Indo-Pacific. This is very real for us now, and we need to be realistic to deter any act of aggression and to help keep peace in our own region, Defense Minister Peter Dutton told reporters on Tuesday. Part of it will be spent to arm Australia's fleet of FA-18F Super Hornet fighter jets with JSSM ER missiles manufactured in the U.S. by weapons industry Lockheed Martin. The extended-range missiles will allow the warplanes to engage enemy targets at a range of 900 kilometers or 560 miles. Australia had already intended to upgrade its air power with improved air-to-surface missiles, but a revised timetable now sets 2024 as the target year. This is 3 years ahead of the previous schedule. So, anywho, I imagine they're going to open that door wide open. I mean, I don't know. I think things are going to get hairy quick because China knows, for example, that once we start digging in, once we start digging in again in, say, South Korea and in Australia, who knows what's next? Philippines? So, I don't know. I would say keep a very close eye on it. And then here, U.S. greenlights $95 million worth of arms deal with Taiwan. Says the U.S. State Department has greenlit a potential deal that would see the U.S. providing Taiwan with equipment and relevant training to support its Patriot air defense systems, the Pentagon's Defense Secretary Cooperation Agency told the media on Wednesday. According to the Pentagon, the total value of the deal might amount to up to $95 million. This proposed sale serves U.S. national economic and security interests by supporting the recipient's continuing efforts to modernize its armed forces and to maintain a credible defensive capability, the Pentagon said in a notification to U.S. Congress. The deal would also help Taiwan sustain its missile density and ensure readiness for air operations, as well as to successfully deter regional threats. The Defense Security Cooperation Agency said. Taiwan's defense ministry has said it expects the deal to become effective within a month. The statements made by the U.S. officials, however, do not indicate that the contract had been signed and the negotiations on the deal had come to an end. Reuters reports, according to the Pentagon, the U.S. Aerospace and Defense Corporation, Raytheon, would become the prime contractor if the deal is finalized. So, I guess this is the third U.S. arms sale to Taiwan. So, since Biden took office. Crazy. And as I was talking about earlier, South Korea is now talking with the U.S. about putting missiles there again. It says here a group of advisors to South Korea's President-elect Yoon Suk-yeol, and I'm sure I said that way wrong, have met U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan in a bid to strengthen deterrence by securing an enhanced U.S. presence on the Korean Peninsula. This would include the deployment of nuclear submarines and bombers, Reuters reported on Wednesday, citing the delegation members. Deploying the strategic assets is an important element of reinforcing the extended deterrence, and the issue naturally came up during the discussions, Park Jin, a South Korean lawmaker who led the delegation on its visit to Washington, told journalists. Park added that the two sides explored options for boosting America's extended nuclear deterrence and coordinating efforts against the threat posed by North Korea. The delegation also sought to arrange a meeting between Yoon and U.S. President Joe Biden after the South Korean leader officially takes office. So, I would imagine that you could expect plenty of equipment to be going there. Let's see. Let me have a drink or two of coffee here. Oh, goodness. Oh, fun times. Alright, Russia warns against games around its western enclave, whatever. Let's see. Moscow has cautioned neighboring European countries against its closure of their borders with Russia and Belarus, pointing out that such a scenario would mean the blockade of Russia's westernmost enclave, Kaliningrad. Earlier this week, Latvian and Lithuanian officials made statements regarding the possible closure of their borders with Russia and Belarus in response to Moscow's military operation in Ukraine. On Wednesday, commenting on the matter, Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Alexander Grushko expressed hope that the common sense common sense would prevent the Europeans from playing with fire. Such a measure would deprive Kaliningrad residents of the opportunity to reach Russia's main territory by land. I very much hope that common sense in Europe will not allow any games to be played around Kaliningrad. I think many people understand that this is playing with fire, the deputy minister told the media. On Tuesday, Latvian Defense Minister Artis Pabriks, said that the Baltic states could close their land borders with Russia and Belarus, but only if all three Baltic states make a collective decision. So, I have a feeling that this is, before it's all said and done, this is going to escalate. Another sip. Now, in another round of sanctions, the U.S. sanctioned Putin's family. Kind of nuts. Citing atrocities in Ukraine, including in Bucha, the U.S. government on Wednesday rolled out new sanctions against Russia that include some of the country's top banks, companies, and government officials, as well as their family members. Today, the United States, with the G7 and the European Union, will continue to impose severe and immediate economic costs on the Putin regime for its atrocities in Ukraine, including in Bucha. We will document and share information on these atrocities and use all appropriate mechanisms to hold accountable those responsible, the White House said. President Vladimir Putin's children and Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov's wife and daughter were among the Russians listed in the latest round of full blocking sanctions, which the White House says intend to impose severe and immediate cost on Moscow. Prime Minister Mikhail Mishustin, something to that effect, and former President Dmitry Medvedev were likewise sanctioned for their membership on the Russian Security Council. So, I mean, I don't understand this, because this, like, where this article reads, right? I mean, it says it so. It's supposed to, cause them so many issues, right? I don't understand how this is the case. These people, you're not starving them, right? You're not depriving them. You can't tell me that they don't have ways around these sanctions to get whatever it is they want or need. I don't, I don't know. I call it the sanctions game. Alright, and another sip here. And a few vapes. Not in a hurry or nothing, just these are the headlines. They say it all pretty much. Nothing really good to report today, and well, there usually isn't, but I mean, in my opinion, a lot of movements today in the news. Especially for being midweek. But, I don't know. I'm tired. Jen's tired. She's over there in and out. That's why she's not chatting. And, like I said, pretty much that's all it's been. Has been things involving military, sanctions. You'll see as I go through the headlines, because believe me, I just have very few amount of headlines up compared to what there was. Alrighty. Okay. Kremlin explains why it may close window with the West. Western countries continue to expel Russian diplomats. Moscow won't rule out the possibility of severing diplomatic ties with the states concerned, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov warned on Wednesday. He explained that the recent wave of expulsions threatens continued diplomatic relations. There is such a potential risk since every day we are faced with such hostile actions. The expulsion of diplomats is a decision that closes the window of diplomatic relations, he told the French TV channel LCI. When asked if Moscow would consider breaking off ties after dozens of its envoys were declared persona non grata in NATO capitals, Italy, Spain, and Denmark expelled a total of 70 Russian representatives on Tuesday, following Monday's decision by Germany and France to exile 35 and 40 respectively. The expulsions were ordered after images of civilians allegedly killed in the town of Bucha, northwest of Kiev, were released by the Ukrainian government and Western media. Kiev is accused withdrawing with Russian troops of massacring civilians in what it claimed to be an act of genocide. Moscow has denied the allegations and said Ukraine and some of its foreign backers were waging a fake news campaign. So, who knows? Who knows? All I know is, this keeps going on, which I expect it to. It's eventually going to get hot. Because again, you're talking about all the other countries besides Ukraine. So, it's not, the claim is that it's over Ukraine. But, NATO, I personally think NATO's been itching for this for a very long time. Alright. Have me a few vapes and we'll run through these and fun times. Alrighty. All of these I shared out from this morning, none from late last night or nothing. West targets Russian darknet market, whatever the hell that is. Zaha Hadid Moscow decision announced. Let's see. Ukraine will be a big Israel, says Zelensky. Man rams car into Russian embassy. Britain tells Russians to use VPN. U.S. tech giant joins mass exodus of Western firms from Russia. Let's see. Western nations expel Russian diplomats. U.S. reveals more military aid for Ukraine. A Western military alliance to work on hypersonic... Oh, I covered that. Sorry. Ukrainian ambassador summoned over insults. China tells the U.S. how to help Ukraine. Russian ex-president comments on Western sanctions. Russian stocks shrug off sanctions. Ruble is steady. Europe's plan to ban Russian coal sends prices higher. Yeah, energy as well is just going to go through the roof. I think everywhere. The banker's central bank warns of inflation era ahead. You think? Russia reacts to Zelensky assassination claims. EU explains why it continues to arm Ukraine. U.S. can't replace Russian coal supplies to Europe, says the industry. Well, no, especially since they shut our coal down largely. U.S. weighs in on Ukraine's plea to kick Russia off UNSC. UN Human Rights Council to vote on Russia's suspension, says media. Let's see. Moscow pays foreign debt in rubles for the first time. President, I can't remember what country, goes 8 months without pay. Zambia. Or Zambia. I don't know exactly how that's pronounced. U.S. cautions India over Russian weapons. Covered that. Stray naval mine found in the Black Sea. President ends Lima lockdown. Yeah, they got all kinds of other problems there right now. U.S. sanctions 2 major Russian banks. Let's see. Covered that. Hungary at risk of losing billions of euros over latest EU move. U.S. military estimates chances of... Oh, I covered that. Sorry. EU nation says it's ready to pay rubles for Russian gas. Hungary proposes major meeting on Ukraine. New South Korean government comments on prospect of bringing back U.S. nukes. So I think that was a different article. There were 2 articles that were talking about it. Kremlin reveals condition for closing window with the West. Unsealed files show how U.S. would harm the planet to preserve its global power. EU fails to agree to new Russia sanctions, says media. Biden helps son of Chinese businessman, says media. Shouldn't be surprised at that. Australia makes massive... Oh, covered that one. Sanctions will set the Russian economy back 15 years, says Biden. And what, the U.S. 50? Biological males shouldn't compete in women's sports, says UK PM Johnson. U.S. kills Capitol Vixen over rabies fears. Yeah, I heard it bit some lady. A bunch of people, actually. It bit several people, I believe. Mariupol mayor puts the number of dead at over 5,000. And that's coming out of AP. So I saw the headline. I thought, well, I'll share it. But I have no idea. I have no idea on any of it. Any of it that I even get from RT, any of it. I have no idea. I'm not there. Microplastics found deep in live lung tissue, says a study. Covered that. Twitter bans U.S. Marine for questioning Ukraine narrative. I'm sure you're surprised. U.S. spies reveal leaking dodgy intelligence on Russia, says media. EU country seizes Russian art, citing sanctions. And that would be the news. That's it. Yay, I don't see any more up there. I mean, it wasn't... a crazy, crazy, insane day, but there were a lot of things that came out involving nuclear weapons and different moves that countries were making or getting ready to make. And just all of those moves to come out on the same day. I thought that was interesting. They are definitely setting the chess pieces up on the board, without a doubt. And anyway, I am gonna leave it at that. Make it an easy, quick night and get the heck out of here. And God willing, we'll be back tomorrow. Close up the week. I hope tomorrow's not so, at least involved with the same stuff. That's crazy. I really hate to think of that being a likely scenario. I don't know. We'll see. It's all we can do is watch. Anyway, I am out of here. God willing, we'll be back tomorrow. Hope to see you then. As always, God bless you. We love you. Be one with your spirit. And shalom.